Welcome back to Overtime here on WOTM. Mark, we've talked playoffs this entire show so far on different levels. One of the things we'll talk about here is in the NBA, and we've had a really interesting season so far, not necessarily a clear-cut number one. The LA Lakers won the championship last year in the bubble, and then this year they off to a great start. You thought they would just cruise, and then LeBron gets hurt, and AD gets hurt again, and then kind of throws a wrinkle in their schedule. The Brooklyn Nets make a trade for James Harden, and then now they have a super team out in the East, but they never can get on the court at the same time. It creates a really interesting dynamic just on the court itself. And then the format changed as well. Yep. 1 through 6 in both the Eastern Conference and Western Conference are now in as far as the seedings go, 1 through 6. Meanwhile, 7, 8, 9, and 10 are playing in a play-in essentially to secure that 7 and 8 spot. Let's talk big picture overall. One of the matchups is LeBron James against Steph Curry. The Los Angeles Lakers and the Golden State Warriors will be one of the first teams in that first play-in game. Let's just talk big picture. They obviously have the superstars playing in this. Do you like this overall play-in theme here from the NBA?
I do. I think that at the beginning of last year, again, before we had COVID, before any of that was known, the NBA was deciding how can we get more fan interest. Now, obviously, a lot of the stuff off the court has probably made some people turn their backs on the NBA.
Right.
But this new playoff format, the play-in format, I think works out real well when considering all the other options. There was now, should we have an in-season tournament and like make everybody eligible for the postseason and have like a 1 versus 30, and all those things wouldn't have worked. This works out really well. You have 7, 8, and 9, 10. 7, 8 winner gets the 7 seed. The loser of that game plays the 8, 9. Plays the 9, 10 winner. And I think it's just a way to keep interest in some teams that might be out of it early on, and fans in that city have a chance to, even if you didn't get off to a good start or there was something that happened in your season with injuries, you can take advantage of that and still make the postseason. I think with the Lakers, what you deal with is they're kind of like wake me when the playoffs start. AD and LeBron playing, it really wasn't about them playing during the regular season. I mean, AD only played 36 games. LeBron played in 40-something games.
Right.
But now that they're healthy for the postseason, this is what the Lakers want and trying to defend their title. The great thing about this, though, is you have LeBron, either LeBron or Steph, made the finals every year from 2010 to 2020, and now they play each other in the opening round to see who gets that 17. Both teams could still wind up making the postseason, but you get them in this one game, kind of mano a mano, as Andrew Dice Clay would say, against each other, just to see who's better in this one game. Lakers won 2 of the 3 during the regular season, but again, now the Lakers are kind of have a full team. Schroeder played very well for the Lakers, an underrated guy. Had a lot of more positive. Lakers had a lot more positive points when he was on the court as opposed to when he was off the court. It's one of those new stats where you judge how many points you get outscored by when certain players are on the court. He had like a plus 40 in the games that they played this year. So those types of matchup, I think, will be really exciting to watch. And then you have Ja Morant and the Spurs in the other round in a Western Conference. So I think for those two early on, just for the best 2 players for the last decade who made the NBA Finals every year, you had LeBron early in the decade and then Steph later in the decade, is a real treat for NBA fans.
Exactly, and the winner of that game is automatically in. They're automatically seeded as the number 7 seed. You mentioned it, and I think it's an important mention that both those teams can still get in. It's just what path might be a little bit harder as far as being one of the top 8 teams, top 8 seeds in there. Let's take a look at the schedule for the play-in. And I know a lot of people got confused early on about how this will all work out, but I think this is the easiest way to clarify it. The number 9 and 10 seed as of right now in the Eastern Conference is the Indiana Pacers and the Charlotte Hornets. Meanwhile, on the Eastern side for the 7-8 is Boston and Washington. The winner of the 7-8 is already in. They're in guaranteed. They have to play no more games. They're locked in as the 7 seed. What you're now trying to decide is the number 8 seed. So the loser of the 7-8 game will play the winner of the 9-10 game. So
they'll host the winner.
Exactly, exactly. So basically, once the 7 seed gets settled, once the 10 seed loses, you have 1 out, 1 in, and then you're trying to determine the other 2 teams. I think you have, honestly, in my opinion, 4 good ball clubs right here. I think these games can kind of go either way. You look at the records, a lot of them are very, very similar. And obviously, I think the best game on the schedule is, of course, the LeBron James versus the Steph Curry matchup. But then you also have a great matchup with Popovich and his squad in San Antonio taking on John Morant and his squad. Lots of questions to answer out in the East as well. Boston still trying to look for where they are with Jaylen Brown now out for the entire playoffs. Russell Westbrook having a phenomenal year, set the record for triple doubles. He could try to continue his momentum. Jordan and his squad, can they do something with the Charlotte Hornets? LaMelo Ball had a great season overall. Indiana, still don't know exactly where they stand overall. I think it's a great 9-10 matchup. And then we'll take a look at the games coming up on Thursday and Friday. So it'll just essentially be what we talked about earlier, the format of the winner of the 9-10 game taking on the loser of the 7-8 game. Who do you like overall? Let's just start with this week. We have plenty of time to do playoffs overall, but who do you like out of the play-in teams?
Well, obviously, I think the Lakers. This is what they waited all year for. And if they don't get, if the Warriors don't get consistent play out of Curry, consistent shooting, and some of their bigger guys, Draymond Green is obviously a huge contributor. Doesn't do much offensively, but sets the defensive tone. Some of those other players have to step up offensively if they can. I don't think they're going to beat the Lakers. I think the Lakers now are, okay, lights have gone on, it's time to play, showtime's now. But I do think they are better than both the Grizzlies and the Spurs. However, the Grizzlies are hungry, and they know what making the playoffs and beating Steph Curry would mean just for their franchise and organization. But they'll have to go on a road and play that game where I think Golden State has an advantage.
Exactly. I think, like you, the Lakers are just waiting to turn that light on. I'm ready to see LeBron kind of back against the wall against Steph. He's already said Steph's the MVP. I think that's kind of like a little mind game.
Yeah, of course. Like Jordan used to do.
Exactly.
Yeah. Give Carmelo the MVP and Jordan go out and score 60 in the playoffs.
Exactly. Yeah. We'll see how it all shakes out. The play-in games start on Tuesday and on Friday to set our final 8 in the NBA playoffs. Well, coming up next here on Overtime, we will close up shop with some final thoughts.